we're streaming? Okay, looks like we are. Hey, there we go. Okay. Alright, nice. Nice. Oh. What's going on, guys? It's funny, like, I almost didn't do a stream today. Man. I hope anyone shows up. Oh, man. Oh, what's up, Josiah? How you doing, buddy? Hey, man, how you living? God. Yeah, sorry I'm late. I just got back, modding, the remaster for Marvel Spider-Man. Yeah, I was real busy getting rid of all those flags and replacing them with the good flags, the right flags. Yeah, yeah, Nazi flags all over Marvel Spider-Man. This is my new Hydra mod. Yeah, yeah. Gotta keep your mind straight. That whole like modding thing is like so bizarre, dude. Like, it's so silly because like on the one hand it's like, okay, why not just let people play the fucking game the way they want to play it? Like if the flag is if the pride flag is annoying to some people and they want to mod it out, sure, fine, whatever. Why are you mad? On the other hand, it's like, why a flag is really causing you this much concern in a game where you can like kick people 20 feet in the air? Why are you fixating on the flag, dude? Like, it's also, it's New York. There's pride flags it's Manhattan. What the fuck? I don't know. It's just so silly. I don't know that. And then people were like getting mad about the flag. Ooh, yeah. But the black suit mods are fun. You know, I think those look really good. If only I had a high end PC, I would totally play Marvel Spider-Man for you guys. But yeah, I'm gonna just if I do play Marvel Spider-Man, it'll be on the PS4, which I can do gameplay videos now for you because my PC is working again. I was able to replace my network drives in my PC, so I'm probably gonna start doing those Arkham Knight Let's Play videos and like finish that up relatively soon. Sorry, I'm rambling. Hey, so Josiah says, how's your collection looking with the new bookshelf? Dude, here's my new bookshelf. I haven't even put it together yet. I'm being a lazy boy. Because after I bought my bookshelf, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I need a place to put it. So I had to like kind of gut my room, and then I'm gonna do something with it later. Like I'm gonna build it here, and yeah. But it's something that's got to get done because I have an ever expanding collection of books. Yeah. But what's new with you, dude? Yeah, how you living, homie? You hanging in there? You doing the thing? You chilling? You vibing? Actually, I didn't get a lot of comics this week. What comics did you get this week, Josiah? Kind of curious. I didn't end up getting a lot, but I got some cool stuff. Supreme. Hey, what's up, Supreme? How you doing, buddy? How you been? Oof. Dude. I like almost didn't have a stream today. I'm like not feeling good. Not in like a monkeypox kind of way, or like a cosmic space AIDS kind of way. It's more like I'm lactose intolerant, and for breakfast I had like a bunch of cheese, and then for lunch I had a bunch of cheese, and I had a chocolate bar on my way home. So I'm feeling I'm feeling I'm feeling pretty nuclear right now. Pretty nuclear. Oh man, I feel like I could turn into a fucking Tsar bomb or some shit. Mm. Ugh. Josiah says, I didn't buy single issues, but I've been reading the Silver Surfer Parable Epic Collection. Oh, sweet, man. Is that by Ron Lim? Nice. I think my dad actually might have had a bunch of those single issues, but they're probably in my grandma's old house, which got sold, and I don't know where that comic collection is now. Probably in like some kid's basement, whatever. Um, Supreme says, been reading the manga version of Full Metal Alchemist. It's the ideal experience because both adaptations to 2003 and Brotherhood are flawed in their own ways. Interesting. I've only watched Brotherhood, because a friend of mine, who introduced me to Full Metal Alchemist, she was like, yeah, just watch Brotherhood. And I was like, oh, but there's all this other things. And she was like, just watch Brotherhood. Don't watch anything else. It's not worth it. Just watch Brotherhood. But I don't know. I'm probably gonna check out the manga at some point. The 2003 show looks pretty interesting. I actually saw a video, from like one of those channels that like reviews anime primarily. They were talking about like how the 2003 series had some like character moments that they preferred to the manga and the anime, which I think are interesting. That's always weird when that kind of like words. That's always weird when that kind of happens, because then it becomes a situation of, well, which one's the definitive version? I know that at least I have that with Blade Runner, not Blade Runner, the other cyberpunk one, Ghost in the Shell. I love a lot of the ideas put forth in the manga, but I really like that movie. But as much as I like that movie, it's very dry. It's a very dry film. And Standalone Complex is really good, but I don't think Standalone Complex has some of the, I don't want to say artistry, because that's it's you're comparing a series to a movie, so I think the movie naturally has a lot more, I guess you could say, like, creative spunk, spit, juice, bits, creative bits just dangling and dripping from it, because it's a big budget movie. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird, you know. Like I have that thing that people have a Full Metal Alchemist with Ghost in the Shell. And I also have that same problem with Neon Genesis Evangelion too. Yeah, because I love the manga. I love the manga for Evangelion. Up until you get to the ending, because I really like the ending of the movie, not the rebuilds. I mean, I like the rebuilds too, but you know, the end of Evangelion movie, I love that, and I think it's beautiful. But I do like the epilogue from the manga. I think the manga has a great epilogue where Shinji does uh, run into Asuka, and like he has all these friends with him, and they're all the characters from the school. And it's not really a recruitment program by Nerve. It's actually a school. It's, I don't know. And Shinji, it's implied that he gets into a relationship with Asuka because it's him moving on, and it's also her moving on. I like it. I don't know what to tell you. I really like the manga ending for Neon Genesis Evangelion, but yeah. Supreme says, actually, in my view, 2003 Full Metal Alchemist adapts the early manga arcs better than the first few episodes of Brotherhood. I hear that a lot. And I haven't read the manga, but based off of what I've been told, Brotherhood just kind of starts you off a couple arcs, and it kind of skips over a couple arcs. Like how the boys meet Roy Mustang, and how they're kind of brought into I forgot the name of the military, but I guess it's just called the military. So yeah, I heard the 2003 series adapt some of that. Although I haven't. Okay, that's a lie. I have seen some of the 2003 series. It was like on Toonami, I think 10 years ago, or maybe longer. Maybe it was Christmas, and it was like 2 a.m. I was like the only one awake because I have not narcolepsy. Fuck, my brain is rotted right now. But I can't sleep. I don't sleep right. I don't usually go to bed till like 4 a.m. because my brain doesn't go to sleep. So I started like watching TV, and I'm pretty sure it was Full Metal Alchemist, like the 2003 series, because there's a whole bit where Edward is like walking down the street, and his face just like plows into this fat lady's like tits, and he's like, I feel like I'm trapped between two worlds, and then she slaps him. That's Full Metal Alchemist, right? I feel like that is. I've been looking for a sauce for that for like nearly a decade. I don't know. If it's not Full Metal Alchemist, then shit, man. I don't know what it is. Insomnia. Yeah, I have Insomnia. Like Spider-Man in PS4. Insomnia Games. That's my dad joke of the day. I'm not gonna make any more. The rest will just be Nazi jokes. I swear, it's all good. Also on comics lists, been reading the late 40s young romance series by Jack Kirby and Joe Simon. Oh, nice, dude. Yeah, most people don't realize this, but Kirby played a huge role in romance comics before the Comics Code. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude. Actually, that's where not Joe Simon. But yeah, Joe Simon too. That's where Ramita Jr. Not the one before Junior, the senior. That's where Ramita Senior comes from. He's an old classic Marvel romance comic writer, or artist, much rather. It's why I think he was the perfect fit for Amazing Spider-Man when you get to the late 60s. And I don't know, as much as I really like the vengeful kind of like incel-y kind of, Peter Parker, that like kind of nerd rage, like society. I do appreciate how Peter grows out of that by the time he gets to college, because that's just what happens when you get to college. Totally not speaking from experience, but yeah, dude, no, like that's how that happens. And when Ramita Senior comes on to Amazing Spider-Man, his whole thing is, look, man, superheroes, family drama with your aunt, cool, but I'm trying to draw some bitches. I'm trying to draw some pretty bitches, and I want to draw them looking cute and I want to see them shaking that thing in Peter Parker's face. And yeah, that's how we get the Stan Lee and Romita Senior era of Amazing Spider-Man, which I honestly think is just a wonderful natural progression of that character's mythology. But there's a lot of creators that migrate from the romance era for Marvel into the superhero stuff. A lot of characters come from that too, like Patsy Walker. Patsy Walker is a old school Golden Age Marvel romance character. She does not start out as Hellcat. And that's something I didn't know until very recently, the past 2 or 3 years. Do you also have homophobia like Spider-Man? Yes. Keep yes. Spider-Man is the quintessential homophobe. Yeah. King Spider-Man for the win. It's a cute outfit. Did your husband make it for you? I love the Bully Maguire meme so much. It's so good. Oh, man. Oh. I was watching that first movie with my girlfriend, I think last year, and we were just talking about how, holy shit, this movie is of its time. Jesus Christ. I've kind of loosened up on those Raimi films in recent years. I'm not sure if you guys watched the video I did with my buddy Greg last night, which I think I uploaded this morning. But that's one of the things I've kind of eased up on the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I still don't like them as adaptations of Spider-Man because it doesn't feel like Spider-Man to me personally, but goddamn, those movies are fun to watch. Well, with people, my nerd brain can't handle watching it because nerd. It's the tism, I swear. But no, if you're with a couple friends, kicking back a couple of beers, they're fun movies to watch. Although I would still much rather watch the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies because that's just Spider-Man to me. For better or worse, I think the Amazing Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 are pinpoint accurate representations of what Spider-Man comics from the mid-60s to mid-70s are like. For better or worse. Did you back Cosmic Detective on Kickstarter? They started shipping, and I'm very excited. What the fuck is that? Cosmic Detective. I'll back some shit on Kickstarter. Yeah, why not? Oh, Lemire, Kent, and Ruben. Well, I don't know who Ruben is, but I'm guessing that's Jeff Lemire, just because I don't know any other Lemires in comics besides Jeff Lemire and Matt Kent. Oh, Dave Rubin. Okay, yeah, he did. He worked on Ether. Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess. Well, I guess I can do a little pledgy pledge. When I have money. That's always the thing. I need money. But this art looks really cool. It's about the murder of a god? Interesting. So basically just the first issue of Final Crisis stretched out 10 issues or some shit. Alright. I'm into it. Yeah, I'll check it out. Cool. Deicide? Is that what the Green Lantern Corps called Orion's Murder in Final Crisis, like a deicide. Uh, It looks kind of cool. I like the artwork. It's very Kirby-esque. It's very Kirby. It's Kerbin. It's Kerbin time. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. What's your Spider-Man movie? Oh, Amazing Spider-Man 1. Yeah, like pretty definitively, The Amazing Spider-Man 1 is like my like 85% of it is like everything I want in a Spider-Man movie. I just think the ending of that film gets a little too big. That's what she said. But but no, like I don't know. I really like the more grounded, kind of less bombastic nature, like the more understated nature of that movie. It feels very much in line with a lot of those older Ditko Lee era Spider-Man comics. And then you get the end of that movie where it's just another Sam Raimi Spider-Man film. And that's kind of disappointing. I still think a better ending for the Amazing Spider-Man is... Oh, okay. This is also like kind of redoing the plot that the Lizard has. Instead of having that, like, what was it called? The Ganali device, you know, that like shoots the polio in the sky and boom, monkeypox. Instead of doing that, I would have gone for something a little more creepy, you know, like a horror, you know, esque kind of vibe. First of all, wouldn't have cut out Dr. Connor's family. I would have kept this family in there, and I would have done a whole thing where Connor's family goes missing, you know, and then other people in New York start to go missing, and then you make the film like a sort of missing persons kind of movie, and Peter starts to figure out that, my current mentor, who I gave this equation to, he's the bad guy. He figures that out. He finds these like missing people in the sewers of New York. And like the Lizard's just like experimenting on people. I would have made it a film where like Connors is trying to improve humanity by sacrificing his own. I think that would have been really interesting to do in that kind of film. It would have been a significantly darker turn, which, based off the movie that we got already, where people were like, "Oh, this movie's dark, and you can't make Spider-Man dark," blah 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 blah. Which that movie's no darker than like any of the three Spider-Man films that came out before it. And it for damn sure is no darker than the comics that were coming out. Like, The Amazing Spider-Man 1, darker than anything in Spider-Man comics throughout the 70s and 80s, 90s, since past. Come on, man. No. So yeah, I would have changed the Lizard's motivation, but that probably would have made the movie a little darker. But I don't know. Still, I think it's better, but that's because it's my idea and I'm brilliant. Although I do have a weird appreciation for Homecoming. Like Homecoming, if I can find a way to like omit a lot of the like Stark Avengers fanboy stuff, is, you know, that's also another one of those films where, damn, just 60% of you is everything that I want from you. It's just You gotta ignore that other 40%. But yeah, no, like I don't think my ideal Spider-Man movie's been made yet. I'm just gonna be completely honest. Um, Personally, I feel like if you somehow found a way to fuse the first Amazing Spider-Man film with Spider-Man: Homecoming, boom, you have the perfect Spider-Man movie. At least for me, um, because I think a lot of the interpersonal relationship drama and the drama between Peter and Aunt May, and Peter like dealing with all these like emotional teenage issues on top of childhood trauma, um, and just being like a weird kid. Like I don't know, I think all that's really well handled in the first Amazing Spider-Man film, and also just kind of like a straight up, well, not straight up, but like it's as close to what I think uh, is an authentic representation of being a high schooler in the 21st century is. Um, mm, well, as far as like adapting Spider-Man comics goes, um, but yeah, take all that and like take the superhero stuff from Homecoming and put it in that movie. I think you have the best Spider-Man film. Um, Supreme Omega. Uh, in your two groups, didn't X-Men belong in the latter group of titles that struggled to find a niche until a later creator refined it? Because not many people liked 60s X-Men. Oh, are you talking about my Superman video? Well, okay. Yes. Because X-Men as we know it popularly doesn't really show up until Claremont and Gil Kane, and then later John Byrne. But I still think the core concept behind the X-Men that stayed for the most part intact since the original, 1960s run by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Um, Although I was very surprised by this when I read some of those old X-Men comics from the '60s, um, because a lot of that, like the racism allegory stuff, doesn't show up until a little later in the book. Because like, I don't know, it's weird. In that first issue, like Cyclops saves a dude from a falling I-beam in a construction site, and the cops are like, "Oh, that's so cool." Huh? Not hated, not feared. Oh, that's cool. Um, and then I think like later, like Angel saves someone from falling to their death, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's so awesome." Um, but I don't think it's until like Boulevard Trash shows up in like issue like 6 or 7. No, 13. I don't know. A lot of that stuff blurs together for me. Um, but yeah, no, like the racism allegory doesn't like come up until a little later in that series. But yeah, no, I still think that the core idea behind that, the X-Men being racism in America, that's remained consistent in comics ever since the Kirby and Lee era. Um, and I've heard that the Neil Adams run is really good, so I want to check that at some point. Um, Also on X-Men, thoughts on the recent Claremont interview? Oh boy. You know what's funny about that? Everyone's trying to cancel Chris Claremont for saying he doesn't like current X-Men. But he said the same thing about the fucking, like, Grant Morrison era of X-Men. Which, like, 90% of X-Men fans agree is the kick in the pants the X-Men needed. Like, I don't know. Also, just like, I don't know. Claremont's a very irreverent kind of guy. You know, he's got that like dry British kind of wit to him. So I'm looking at some of the stuff that he's saying. Like, yeah, I'm gonna. I would have made Kitty Pryde the cosmic daughter of Black Panther and Storm, and that would have been great, right? He's joking. It's a joke. Lighten the fuck up, internet. It's humor. It's and you know, again, the other stuff is, you know, like bitching about movies and stuff like that. It's all, again, same with him bitching about X-Men for the past 20 years. Pretty consistent there. Claremont also doesn't like Marvel movies or superhero movies. Surprise, surprise. He's been beating that same drum for 20 years, man. I don't know what to tell you. Some of the stuff he said in that interview, I kind of agree with. Like when he brought up the idea of Krakoa being a little tone deaf, I agree with that. I definitely... Okay. So this is one of those things where I like the Krakoan era, or at the very least, I like the Hickman piece of it. At least the idea behind it. Because he was going to do something with that idea. You know, the mutants weren't supposed to stay on Krakoa. Hickman was supposed to use Krakoa and a lot of the political, like a lot of the political, like world building, set pieces he was like putting together and like placing, to tell a story, and then loop the X-Men back around to being the quintessential classic X-Men in the same way that he does that with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and the Marvel Universe after Secret War. Like, Hickman was gonna do something with all that, and now he's not. So the Krakoa era does kind of feel like it's lacking in direction. Although I haven't really read the second issue of AXE. I like skimmed through it. I thought it was interesting, but I know Kieran Gillen's kind of hit or miss for me, and I also just don't feel like reading God knows how many issues of Immortal X-Men have already come out just to catch up to what's coming out currently. No, I'm not doing all that. But yeah, no, the weird thing about the Krakoa era is it does kind of paint mutants as a monolith. You know, like, oh, you're a mutant, therefore come to our island, come to our orgy festivals, come to our churches, come join the Krakoan X-Men of the mutant agenda. Come join us. This is the new cult now, baby. Hickman was doing something with that, and this is kind of where I disagree with Claremont, because Claremont's whole thing is, you know, the mutants should be, there should be like divisiveness within the mutant community about all of the mutants going to one place and thinking one kind of way. You know, wouldn't it be interesting to have mutants on Krakoa who like listen to Lil Wayne or fucking like, I don't know, who's a popular singer in the Marvel universe, but you know, just like, oh, the other mutants would like look at you and go like, oh, you're listening to that human music, disgusting, or oh, you're wearing human clothes, not nothing from the mutant brands, you're wearing the human clothes, ew, What are you, some kind of race traitor? You're not a real mutant. Yeah, of course there'd be that on Krakoa. That's not shown in a lot of the Krakoan era material because the mutants are written to be like this homogenous mono race, which is kind of, I don't know. Again, Hickman was gonna go somewhere with it, but the way it's being written now, it does feel a little tone deaf. Just throwing that out there. Uh, but no, I do think that the Krakoan era could very possibly fall flat on its face in the next couple of years because Marvel kicked Hickman to the curb. Uh, um, but yeah, I kind of agree with Claremont on that, and I agree with Claremont on the fact that a lot of Marvel movies kind of suck. They do. They're There's no difference between a lot of Marvel movies and like a lot of those crappy 80s action movies that were really popular in the 80s and 90s that we look back on and admit are crap. You know? But the internet just is doing what the internet does, just making a big fuss out of nothing. I didn't think Claremont said anything all that bad. Oh, your birthday's tomorrow? Oh, okay. Well, my clock says it's like almost it's almost 12. So, we're gonna get you a big ass birthday thing, big ass birthday shout out. Once it hits 12. Here, wait. Do you live on the East Coast? Are you an East Coast kid or like a Midwest kid? Um. Hmm. Um. What about No Way Home? No Way Home. I'm not a fan of No Way Home, honestly. What about Spider Verse? I appreciate Spider Verse, but Spider Verse is a movie built on, hey, let's take these two things that I don't like about modern Spider-Man comics and put them in a movie that is really good. You know, it's still it's a really good movie, tells a really good story, but fundamentally I don't like multiverse Spider-Man, and I don't I don't like the idea of you know, anybody can be Spider-Man. No, I don't like that idea. That's a I feel like that's a DC concept. You know, that's anybody can be Batman. Anybody can be Superman. You know, it's all about like the myth and legend of the mythic hero. But yeah, that's not that doesn't really fit for Marvel characters, in my opinion, at least. It almost feels like too reverent for the Marvel universe, which is I'm just not. That's not how I see the Marvel universe. That's not how I see those characters, personally. Supreme says 60s X-Men only really starts to get good with both Roy Thomas and Neil Adams. That's like the first iconic Sentinel story. Oh, interesting. Is that the Rockefeller Plaza one? I've seen art from that, but I don't think I've ever actually read that story. In fact, I might have had the comic for that when I was a little kid because I had like one of those Sentinel action figures. Because Marvel did the Marvel Legends. Was it the Marvel Legends? Well, my light blinked, so I guess I'm wrong. But you know, Marvel used to like put out these like action figures and have like little comics in the back of them. And I had a Sentinel action figure for the longest time. That might have been the issue, honestly. That might have been the issue that it came with. Damn, I wish I saved some of those comics. I think I still have the Ghost Rider one, and I'm pretty sure I still have the Amazing Fantasy 15 one. Although I still wish I kept that Spider-Man. That was a good action figure. Would have been great for like art references and stuff like that. Supreme says, on comic book representation, it's sad and ironic that there's not a lot of openly Jewish representation in superhero comics, even though the superhero genre was founded by working class Jews. I wouldn't agree with that entirely. I think there's a lot of prominent Jewish characters in comics, particularly Marvel comics. The Thing, Moon Knight, Ultimate Universe Peter Parker, for the most part, is... I think it's safe to assume that Ultimate Universe Peter Parker is Jewish. Fuck. Wait, no. Damn it. You might have me beat. You might have gotten me with that one. Kitty Pryde. Bruce Wayne is kind of Jewish, right? Like maybe on Martha's side of the family, or the Canes. Because I'm pretty sure Batwoman is Jewish, and Batwoman is Bruce's cousin. I'm pretty sure there was like a thing about that. I'm thinking now. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Um, but you know, I also kind of think it's interesting that, much like in the real world, not every character is like one thing. Um, but I also just have I have a whole thing with like real world religions and ethnic backgrounds and nationalities, like a hard dogmatic sense of nationality in those stories, like taking place in these fictional universes. And I've talked about that in videos before. It's one of those things where I don't think comic book universes can mirror real world at all, and it makes sense. Like, okay, just religion, since we're talking about it. Okay, say you live in like the DC universe, right? And you're in a car accident, and you start praying to God. That Allah. If you're Muslim, you're like, oh Allah, please save me from this burning car that's about to explode. And then Wonder Woman shows up. You're probably going to switch religions. You're probably going to become a pagan after that. Right? Just like in the Marvel Universe, like, say that you're like Hindu or, Sikh or Jewish or whatever, and then you're in again, same deal, car crash, and then you're praying, and then Thor shows up and is like, I heard prayers. Come hither, human, and bask in the glory of the light of Thor. You're gonna abandon your religion, the faith that called to you, and you're gonna be like, oh, but this new one over here is like real because Thor is like an actual person who saved me from a burning car after I prayed for salvation. Like, I don't know. You get the whole thing with that but then you're fundamentally like, kind of changing the rules of these universes, and that's just a lot of world building and a lot of work. That I think works perfectly fine for like a pastiche superhero universe, in a way that it can't really work in the actual Marvel and DC universes. Tevi says, "Do you believe Judgment Day will blow up Krakoa?" We'll see, man. Anything's possible at this point. Again, I really like the first issue of AXE. It made me want to go back and read and actually follow Karen Gillan's Eternals. Because one, I love Asad Ribic. Asad Ribic is like one of my favorite artists working currently, and I love his vibe for Marvel Cosmic. I think it works perfectly. Sorry. But yeah, Karen Gillan's kind of hit or miss for me. But this, I don't know, if the writing quality is of the same caliber as it is on AXE, I'm probably going to like his Eternals a lot. I mean, I like the first issue, like the first two issues. So yeah, I'll definitely give those a shot. Supreme Omega. Also in comic history, I feel like Mad Magazine is important and should be appreciated. A lot of important comic artists were involved in that magazine. I knew that, but I don't know how crucial Mad Magazine is to the comic book industry currently. And that's not me saying I don't think you're right. That's just me saying I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I think that's very fascinating. So, hey man, just sauce me up. Just literally anything you can recommend. I am a fucking slut for the history of comics. I think the history of American comics is fascinating. I'm actually trying to get I'm trying to get into the history of manga because I've been watching a lot of videos by the YouTuber Comics by Perch, and he's a retailer and he talks a lot about manga history, and I think the history of manga is fascinating. So I'm gonna try to check that out. I'd be very interested to know if the history of manga follows a similar kind of path as the history of Western American comics. And I'll always pimp this book out. I think this is amazing. This is like a great read if you're into comics. Comic Book Nation by Bradford Wright. Like, yes. Again, a little outdated because I think it ends with in the year 2000, and the comic book industry has changed dramatically in the past 20 years. But yeah, no, really good read. East Coast. Okay, bet. So in the next 2 minutes, we're everyone in the chat just spam that shit. Spam happy birthday for Tevye. Do it. Let's do it. For family, Corona and family. This is water, but Corona and family. Yeah. W says, personally, I think Into the Spider-Verse animated movie was fantastic, and I'm very excited for the Across the Spider-Verse. However, I do agree that multiple Spider-Man gets to seem overkill. Yeah, it's just not my thing, personally. That being said, though, I am very excited for that movie, only for my girl Mayday Parker to hopefully show up in that movie. Hopefully. Yeah, man, we'll see. At the very least, it'll be something that Mayday makes an appearance in. And hopefully her character is not butchered like it was in the Spider-Verse comic. Jesus Christ. What a terrible... that book's not great. Yeah, Kitty Pryde is Jewish. Yeah. And, happy birthday, Tev! What's a Thor speech? Bask in the glory of Asgard for your birthday. Hither! Fuck, I'm just gonna... Here we go. There we go. Fuck. Where are the emojis in this bitch? Cake. 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 Fuck yes, cake. There we go, buddy. Happy birthday, man. Let's see. Mr. Terrific. Supreme says, Mr. Terrific is an atheist. He is an atheist. There's actually a really interesting character moment between Mr. Terrific and I think it's Blue Devil in Infinite Crisis, where Blue Devil and Mr. Terrific are talking about, like, you know, religion and the end of days, and Blue Devil curiously brings up, hey man, so I heard you're like an atheist, but like I'm like literally a demon, and if I walk in that church right now, I'm gonna burst into flames. And Mr. Terrific's like, that's bullshit. Religion's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Science. Again, it goes back to that whole thing that I talk about in, you know, some of my other videos. Just venting about how I think making comic book universes reflect the real world is silly. Because, nah, dude, it doesn't make sense. it doesn't make any sense. If an actual demon from hell is telling you, hey man, I'm a demon from hell and I can't walk in that church, why are you telling him that? Nope, bullshit. Religion's bullshit. It's all dumb. It's all dumb. It's not real. No, man, that's not how people work. It's, again, like with the Thor thing, you know, if you're like Muslim or you're Christian or Jewish and you're praying to God to save you from a car crash, and then like Thor shows up, you're gonna be a pagan after that. That's just how people work. Toby says, but isn't Daredevil Catholic? Daredevil is Catholic. Which always just kind of weirds me out, because Matt Murdock has like actually interacted with gods. Again, but Matt's Catholicism is like deeply connected to him as a character, so taking that away just it's weird. It's very weird. Not sure how to fix that problem. Supreme Omega says, hot take, Spidey works better in a serialized format. The ideal adaptation is a 12-season anime show that adapts the first 30 years of 616 Spidey from Amazing Fantasy 15 to Harry's death in Spectacular 200. Okay, you might be on something there. Okay, I see you. Okay. I mean, it's almost what we got with Greg Weisman's Spectacular Spider-Man series, because that series was supposed to last 5 seasons, I believe. They planned 5 seasons, and there were going to be a series of movies that took place during Peter's college years after the series. It sucks we're never going to see that. Really fucking sucks, but it is what it is. With bated breath, I do await Spider-Man freshman year, though. All those dudes at San Diego Comic-Con, they said the right shit to make my nerd boner stand and salute. So here's hoping that it's good. Supreme says, thoughts on Kieran Gillen as a writer? Pros and cons. For me, he is a good writer, but he has this hipsterish vibe, especially when he works with Jamie McKelvey. Yeah, I have that same thing. I definitely have that same thing. I really like Kieran Gillen's run on the X-Men. That was like my introduction to Kieran Gillen. Um, like this is like 15 or so years ago. But one of the things that really kind of struck me was when he kind of like Deadpoolified Mr. Sinister. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but I mean, we'll go with it. You know, the MCU hasn't devolved into a complete parody of itself, and all the characters don't act exactly like this yet. So, uh, it's interesting. Okay. I'm not inundated with this kind of bullshit in all superhero media just yet. So, okay, yeah, I'll bite. Um, but no, every now and again, Kieran Gillen will he'll write something. He'll tweak a character. He'll write a couple lines of dialogue, and it's like, oh, this is why you're. I list you as hit or miss. Yeah, there's a line like that in AXE, like number 2, I think. No, it's number 1 when Druig is giving that whole speech, and he's like, "Oh, don't beware it's okay about the giant death monsters and the oceans. They're all perfectly fine," and blah blah blah. It's that very dry, kind of like British, you know, kind of humor, but it's done in a way that's like kind of Americanized. It's hard to describe, but it can get very annoying. It was one of the big reasons why I just could not deal with his Iron Man run at all. Not my thing. But again, Kieran Gillen's hit or miss for me. Duke says, "Thank you, man." Oh, of course, dude. Of course, man. Happy birthday, brother. I hope you have a great one. Yeah. Going to bed. Good night, Tevya. Happy birthday, man. Supreme says, on Superman adaptations, it's weird and ironic that his TV adaptations are more successful than his cinematic adaptations. Just look at Lois and Clark in the 90s or Smallville in the 2000s. Yeah, that's always kind of bizarre. In a weird way, I feel like Superman is a character who is completely fit for film, but the films just never quite take off with the general public. It's always the shows that people connect with. Which, I mean, like, that's cool for them. I still think, as much as I really like the 90s Lois and Clark show, basically just because a lot of those early seasons are just not straight up adapting John Byrne, but they're getting pretty damn close to it. And John Byrne's just like, that's my Superman. That's how I see the character of Superman. Yeah, as much as I love that show, I still think the Reeve movies are great, and I don't know, just that like biblical epic scale is just that's everything Superman should be to me. And same with the Henry Cavill Zack Snyder movies, and Superman and Lois. I really appreciate the Superman and Lois TV show. I think Tyler Hoechlin plays a great Superman. He plays a great super dad. I think the cast does a great job with what they're given. And best of luck to that guy who plays Jordan on the show, like Superman's jock, like the jock son. I think he said he's like leaving the show. Which, hey, best of luck to him. But yeah, no. I'm just I'm not really into that show, if I'm gonna be honest. I don't like Super Dad. I think I said that before. I'm just not a fan of Super Dad. Plus, the CW isms really held season 2 back for me. On top of all of the hiatuses that show went on. Um, but yeah, as much as I appreciate that show and what it's doing for the character, I still really like those Zack Snyder movies. I I know that's heresy, but that's still my shit, man. It is what it is, bro. It is what it is. Um, Supreme Omega says, I wish Spider-Man had a Lois and Clark style adaptation, a primetime TV soap opera featuring a married Peter and MJ. That would be great. In fact, okay, this is just me talking, right? But this is like my pitch for a Spider-Man series. Peter Parker, recent college graduate, uh, still traumatized by the death of Gwen Stacy, still traumatized by the death of Norman Osborn, um, still having that like weird kind of like awkward relationship with his best friend Harry, who's like a recovering drug addict. Peter's a teaching assistant, and the show picks up several days after he's just proposed to Mary Jane, and she leaves him, and she's like, "No, I'm not getting married. No, I'm not doing that. I love you, but I can't do that. I'm not gonna tie myself down. I'm not ready. I know. I'm a Sagittarius, baby. I can't be held down." Again, like that, like that's where you pick the show up, and then you like go through, some of the characters who don't really get a lot of, a lot of shine in Spider-Man adaptations. Like Gloria Grant. She's a big Spider-Man character throughout the 70s and 80s. Who just gets dropped. Ned Leeds, but like a proper Ned Leeds. You could do something with him. Also, God damn it. What's that girl's name? Deb Whitman. Like have Deb Whitman be like one of those on again, off again kind of relationship characters. Also, like do something with Black Cat. Like no, I think you could do a lot with, a Spider-Man soap opera series, and you make it a soap opera. You make it like that really kind of cheesy. Really make it a CW show. That is just the ultimate irony of all of this. I think if you had like a lot of the Marvel shows written in the same kind of like melodramatic, like soapy, eye rollish kind of tone as those CW shows are, you'd kind of end up with a perfect adaptation of Marvel Comics. Like, I'm reading this right now. Mainly because I absolutely love what Christopher Cantwell and Cafu are doing in Iron Man. So I went back and picked up the Korvac saga from my comic book store, and I'm reading some of this shit, and I'm just like, oh, this is a fucking CW show right here, dude. Like, you have characters freaking out at each other for no goddamn reason. You have Iron Man and Captain America beefing with each other, and it's like that very catty, like, I'm not talking to you now. Oh, you looked in my general direction? Well, I'm going to say something very snide and rude about you over here, but I'm going to say it loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. Like, it's really silly, kind of like petty and puerile stuff like that CW characters do. That works for Marvel way better than it does DC, I feel. And I think it fits Spider-Man best of all. So no, make a Spider-Man show in the same vein as a CW show. I don't know, that's my pitch. That's my pitch, and I don't know. I would love to see that more than any Spider-Man feature-length film that we'd probably get in the coming years. Supreme said, also on Spider-Man adaptations, even though Peter and MJ were married for 20 years, not much adaptations from the married era. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I know in video games they play with the idea of Peter and MJ just being married, and that's just it is what it is. Um, but yeah, I noticed that too. Not a lot of Spider-Man adaptations play with Peter and MJ just being married. Which, by the way, that whole CB Cebulski interview where he said that Peter and MJ just can't be married, and really just Peter can't be married to anyone because it makes him unrelatable. That's a load of shit, dog. I'm sorry. Um, if anything, I feel like this effort to make Peter Parker so regressed to what he was in the 70s, or no, not what he was in the 70s, what people who grew up with like 70s and 80s Spider-Man comics superficially remember about how those comics made them feel, like taking the character back to that or regressing him to that, um or reducing him to that, much rather. You really start to lose the essence of what makes the character the character. um and in that, I really feel like you start to ironically lose what makes the character relatable. You know, what makes Peter Parker relatable, isn't his youth. It's not, all the love interest that he has. It's not, constantly worrying about Aunt May. Those are all aspects that are identifiable, in everyday life, because we all have a mother figure or a father figure or a parental figure in our lives who we love dearly, and as we get older and they get older and you start to worry about them. We all have experienced at one point in our lives, or even currently, girl problems or guy problems or whoever problems, romance problems. That's natural. Um, and we've all like experienced the awkwardness of youth, yes. But that's not what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. That's not what makes Peter Parker Peter Parker. That's not what makes Peter Parker a relatable character. What makes Peter Parker a relatable character is that we're watching this guy grow and change and go through life through the years. I started reading Amazing Spider-Man when I was like 9.5, 10 years old. And I started reading in that J. Michael Straczynski era where Peter was married and he was living with Mary Jane Watson. And Aunt May did know that he was Spider-Man, and Peter was working as a school teacher. I found that era way more relatable than what we're getting now, where Peter is basically just Silver Age Superman, but by a different name. That's what he is. Like, I know, I don't find anything relatable about, a cosmic god entity who's tethered to the web of reality and the multiverse itself. And he has to go across the multiverse and bang all these different versions of weird aristocratic sacrifice goddesses, and fight giant kaiju in the middle of the city, and you'll stop apocalyptic, Sinister Six threats. That's not relatable. That's not Spider-Man. That's not Peter Parker. That's not why I'm endeared to that character. That's not what made me fall in love with that character. And it sucks that that's what Spider-Man became under the Dan Slott era, and it kind of sucks that that's just what Spider-Man is now, forevermore. It looks like. But let's see. Supreme says also on the marriage era, the late '80s, early '90s, newlywed era is Spider-Man. In Spider-Man comics creative and commercial peak. Oh, is Spider-Man comics creative and commercial peak. Can never be reached again. Yeah, that's kind of that's also the thing, man. Um, I really don't have anything to add to that. I just yeah, yeah. Um, but that's why we have back issues. You know, I'm not currently invested in a lot of current Spider-Man comics, but I'm also not reading a lot of current Spider-Man comics. I'm reading a lot of older Spider-Man comics, because there's definitely stuff out there that I haven't read, and that's the stuff that I'm going to invest in. Um, just I'm not currently a fan of the Jason Aaron Avengers run, but never read this stuff, you know. And a buddy of mine got me a bunch of those George Perez and Kurt Busiek trades. Never read that stuff either. That's where like a lot of I guess like how I visually identify the Avengers, like where a lot of that comes from for me personally. So it's gonna be really interesting to like check some of that stuff out. And sorry, I kind of want to review some of that at some point. I might end up reviewing this, just because so much of this is the foundation for a lot of this stuff right here, by Cantwell and Cafu. So yeah, no, man, I'm definitely in that. I'm in that vibe where I'm just reading a lot of older comics at this point. Supreme says also on Spidey love interest throughout. Thoughts on Liz Allen and Betty Brant. They always get ignored due to the popularity of MJ and Black Cat. I like Betty Brant, but Betty Brant was like never a super serious love interest for Peter. And whenever I sometimes think about her being potentially a serious love interest for Peter, no, it's creepy to me. It's a little creepy to me. Because Peter's like 16 or 15 when he first meets Betty Brant, and she's like 20. That's weird, bro. That's weird. And I'm saying that as someone who has worked with minors before. You don't really see them in a romantic kind of light. They're kids, bro. They're kids. Don't fuck them kids. Like that's always kind of the weird thing with Betty Brant. It's like, that's kind of weird, man. But it was also the 60s, and like we didn't care about that stuff back then. But I don't know, now we do. So just but for Liz Allen though, I like the friendship that Peter shares with Liz Allen. At least up until you get to like the early 2000s. There's a really kind of like sad moment, like a bittersweet kind of moment in Mark Miller and Terry and Rachel Dodson's Marvel Knights Spider-Man, where I think it is Peter's 10-year high school reunion, and Peter sees Liz Allen at the the whole reunion, and Pete's like, "Oh, this is Liz Allen. She's like one of my oldest kind of friends, and she's been through a lot, but she's living a pretty normal life now." And the way Terry and Rachel Dodson depict Liz Allen, it is so because you can tell this is a woman who like just has nothing but pain behind her eyes, but she's putting up that smile because it's what you do. Even though I have a kid from a coked out, drug-addled grown man child who turned into a goblin monster. Yeah, and died tragically in like the back of an ambulance, holding Spider-Man's hand. Nice. My life's going so good. So good. Why didn't I just date Peter Parker in college like I probably should have? You know that's what she's thinking sometimes. Like, it's just so painful, but like, yeah. Yeah. I feel really bad for Liz Allen. I also feel bad for Betty Brant, you know? Like, even though her and Peter were, like, never really a serious thing, which thank God, because that'd be creepy if it was. But, her and Ned Leeds were a serious thing, and then Ned Leeds just gets his fucking throat slit. Which kind of drives Betty insane for, like, a couple years. Depressing, but still not nearly as punished as any woman who has dared to date Matt Murdock. So at least they got that going for them. All right, I'm actually gonna probably call it a night. Yeah, that's been a pretty good show. So, hey guys, thanks for showing up. I know I like showed up super late. That's my fault. That's what I get for eating a bunch of fucking cheese. Being lactose intolerant, eating cheese. Great job. Very smart. But hey, take care, fellas. And happy birthday again, Tevia. Like, I know you've already left the chat, but, you know, just still, for posterity's sake, happy birthday, buddy. And thanks for everyone else who came out to the show. I appreciate you guys so much. And yeah. Without any further ado, adios, nachos. Adios.